Richard is with us on the phone, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you for dialing in, and welcome everybody to this first meeting of the new year, 2021. We've got a lot in store, hopefully. And on that note, we are going to finish with a wonderful item from 2020, and that is a recognition of one of our faculty members and educators who received a prestigious award from the governor, Governor Parsons, and I will hand it over from Dr. Van Galen to tell us what that's all about.
Thank you, Governor Hershaway. I'm really honored today to recognize one of our truly outstanding faculty members who represent so many others that care about our students and provide excellent education here at Missouri Southern. Dr. Chris Mssu has been awarded the Governor's Award for Excellence in Education. In normal times, there would be a ceremony in Jefferson City, but we thought it would be wonderful today to recognize him. So I'd like to call on Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Paula Carson, for the introduction.
So unfortunately, the pandemic has resulted in the cancellation of many things. And when the Governor's Award luncheon was canceled, we were all very sorry, but I sort of knew there would be one person who would be okay with that, and it was Dr. Mssu. He's a very hard worker, and he's very caring and very diligent, and is always looking out for the best interests of his students and his colleagues and his institution. But he is not one who seeks the attention or the limelight, and that is really one of the things that makes him so very, very special. Chris has worked in so many different aspects and in so many different ways during his time at Missouri Southern. He has been a true instructional leader in terms of teaching courses such as strategic management at both the graduate and undergraduate levels, as well as key in our international business and our overall international relations disciplines, which are really critical to our mission. He has worked as a graduate coordinator. He has worked, and it was a real privilege for me to do this. He has worked and let me say, given of service as interim dean when we were doing a search. And there is really nothing that anybody ever calls Chris for to help with or to be a part of that he says no. And I was so very excited when he was selected for this prestigious award. He's a good man, and he's a good scholar. He's a good colleague, and he is most deserving of this recognition, and it's a real pleasure to be able to present it to you this way. So if you'd like to come up and share words, which he does not want to come up and share words, but we're coercing him to share a few words anyway. So sincere congratulations, Chris.
Everything Paula said was true. I'm not seeking the limelight. I typically don't. I don't think I've done anything special. This is what working in education is all about, and that's caring for our students and caring for our colleagues. I couldn't have done anything without the encouragement and support of the university and of my colleagues. It's much appreciated. My wife will be very happy. I told her, I have to have lunch with the board. So I didn't realize it was a last place award. But now, serious note, thank you very, very much for the recognition. We have a new semester. I get to do it all over again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mssu. That was, like I said, inspiring, and the governor wrote a letter that just focused on your contributions to the students, but on behalf of the board, by doing that for the students, you've done it for the university and also for the state, as the governor says. So thank you again from all of the board. Okay, the next item on the agenda, we need to approve the minutes from the last meeting. There are copies in your notebook, and I believe you got them ahead of time. So I would entertain a motion to approve or any changes that may need to be made.
So moved. Second.
I have a first by Governor Elliott, a second by Governor Gibson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next on the agenda is the reports, but there is an item of new business that, for the sake of efficiency, and so we can let these other professionals go, I would like the board's permission to move an item of new business, the approval of the audit, to this time. And Governor Haley will introduce that item.
Yes. So we will have BKD present the annual audit for our last fiscal year. And so they're here with us, Ryan and Kim, to present that audit, and then we will open it up to any questions and for a motion. Ryan, Kim, you guys have the floor.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you at your board meeting today to share the results of the 2020 audit engagement. We did discuss earlier with the Audit Committee and went through the reports in a lot of detail, so this will just be a brief overview. We did issue a clean or unmodified opinion, which states that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the university as of and for the year ended June 30, 2020. The letter also refers to the Missouri Southern Foundation, and that is a discretely presented component unit of the university, and it is audited by a separate audit firm. And in planning and performing our audit, we do consider the internal controls over the financial reporting and compliance of the university, but we do not issue an opinion on the internal control structure. The management's discussion and analysis is part of your audit report, and that is prepared by management and is not covered by our audit opinion. It's deemed unaudited information. However, it is a really good place to go if you're wanting a summary of highlights of things that happened with the university over the past year with a good comparison with the prior 2 years. And the footnotes that are behind the financial statements is also another good place to go if you want to get a good summary of the accounting policies that are significant to the university, as well as finding any information on significant line items that make up the financial statements. You will notice this year that your reports are a little bit different than they were in the prior year, and we're at this board meeting a little later than we have been in the past. The reports you have today in front of you do not include the single audit, which covers the compliance element when the university is spending federal funding. That delay was really due to the government having a delay in issuing the compliance supplement, which instructs the auditors where to focus when auditing the compliance of those funds, because those funds were new and they did not have time or did not get that compliance supplement issued until just late December of 2020. So that has been issued now, and the testing is starting underway, is going to be planned. In fact, information will go to the university this week on starting to pull the information that we'll need to complete that testing. The compliance supplement did extend the due date for the single audit to be completed to June 30, whereas previously it was due March 31st. It's still a challenging environment for colleges and universities. You take the normal challenges with managing enrollment and competition for students, add a little pandemic to that, and a crazy amount of federal funding, state funding, and other resources that the universities had to manage to make sure that they were in compliance with trying to use those funds. And it does make for a unique yet exciting environment for you all to manage. But as you have in the past, you've had to be diligent in monitoring the budget, checking expenditures, and making sure, again, that you're reacting in changes to the conditions that you're presented with on any given year. So again, congratulations to completing a good year. We appreciate the cooperation that we receive from everyone on campus. As I've mentioned before, it goes beyond just the financial office. We're in financial aid. We talk to IT. There's all kinds of places that we touch on campus, and again, are pleased to have the professional attitude towards the audit that we receive when we're here on campus to get our job done. So again, thanks to everyone that's helped us get that done. Again, that's my brief highlights, but I'd be happy to entertain myself or Ryan any questions that you have regarding the audit process.
Are there any questions of the auditors about their information or as it was presented at the budget meeting? If not, I would entertain a motion. We do need a motion to approve that.
So moved.
All right, motion by Governor Plotnick. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Governor Haley. All those in favor of approving the audit performed by BKD this year? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, the audit is approved. Thank you all
Thank
for
you.
your
Thank
work, and thank you, Ms. Ice, and Jeff and Rob, too. So now we move on to, and I will turn it over to Dr. Van Galen to do that.
Thank you, Governor Hirschway. Yesterday was the first day of the spring semester, and there is nothing quite like the energy and the optimism that students bring to our campus. Volunteers from across campus provided our returning students with a personal welcome, directions to class if needed, 2 free Missouri Southern Mass, and a cup of hot chocolate. The students I visited with were clearly excited to be back. We begin the spring semester, for the most part, as we did in the fall, providing many courses in a high-flex format and offering students with engaging experiences with protocols in place to protect the health of our campus and broader community. I continue to be grateful to our faculty, staff, and students for their extraordinary work, patience, and flexibility during this pandemic. Just prior to the holiday break, we held our annual Years of Service and Superior Service Award event, broadcast virtually from Corey Auditorium. Congratulations goes to this year's Superior Service Award recipients, Lori Mouser from Disability Services and Tara Schneider from Distance Learning, who exemplified the excellence within our workforce. The event was a wonderful reminder that what makes Missouri Southern a great place to learn and work is its people. Speaking of people, I want to thank Dr. Julie Wingert for agreeing to serve as Interim Vice President of Student Affairs for the 2021 calendar year. Julie, who you'll hear from later, is a well-respected leader on our campus. She's passionate about student success and will be a valuable addition to our campus senior leadership team. Finally, I will briefly highlight 2 of the items included in my written report to the board. First, the governor's announcement of funding to support higher education. On January 6th, Governor Carson announced the release of significant funds to support higher education in the state of Missouri. In a few minutes, Vice President Yost will provide details, but I do want to publicly thank Governor Carson for his continued support and his understanding of the importance of post-secondary education to the future of Missouri. Next, as you may recall from the November board meeting, one of our 2 top campus priorities for the 2021 legislative session is securing one-time capital funds to repair and reopen the Taylor Performing Arts Center. Based on some excellent conversations with our legislative delegation, we have increased our request from $2 million to $2.5 million, adding to the project the remediation of the balcony stairwell, which will allow us to reopen the balcony. As a reminder, TPAC has been unusable, closed, since July of 2019 because of serious structural issues. The Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development has ranked this project as one of the top 10 most critical higher education capital needs in our state. Governor Hirschway, with thanks to the board for their commitment and service to this university, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Van Galen. Are there any questions from Dr. Van Galen at this time about his report? Okay, if not, we will move right along. We have Kevin Grime here in place of Dr. Hodson, and glad to see you, and he will give the report of the Executive Vice President.
Thank you, Governor Hirschway. Honored to sit in for Dr. Hodson today. I'll be very brief. Dr. Hodson's report deals mainly with fundraising and alumni efforts. As you can see from the numbers, I feel like we're having a good year from a fundraising standpoint to this point. Had a very, very good second quarter. When the market does well and when our constituents feel engaged, that usually is a pretty good combination for us. So I do want to briefly promote our staff. You know, they've had, when I said constituents being engaged, they've had to find other ways to do that and contact our constituents, really since March. And they've proved very adaptable and nimble in that. So certainly think we're seeing the results there. I would draw your attention, excuse me, to the endowment reports. I think all the governors have an endowment report in their packet. This is Dr. Hodson's endowment, and so we did get his permission first before sharing this. But this endowment report has been about as well received as anything we've done from a stewardship standpoint. I know a lot of times we think of stewardship as events or mixers and ribbon cuttings and stuff like that, but this is another example of that. This is a report that is sent to anyone who is designated as a contact to an endowment. It could be the donor, it could be a relative of a donor, et cetera, et cetera. But it gives them a snapshot of the endowment's performance, facts and figures on our investments in general, but also a lot of good specific information on their funds as well. This type of communication, I believe this may be the third or fourth one that we have sent out. We send it on an annual basis, has led to reinvestment in our endowments that we had not previously seen. Sometimes folks will start an endowment and it ends when they get it endowed. We have seen continued reinvestment from folks over the years, so we're very, very pleased with that. It's just, like I said, another example of stewardship that goes beyond events and ribbon cuttings and whatnot. So proud of that. Today I wanted to show you an example of a collaboration. We depend on a lot of collaborations on campus. So this is one between our office, our University Relations and Marketing Office, and a supporter of ours. So we've already begun fundraising for global leaders. We've had some very, very nice gifts that have come in to help establish and get that moving in the right direction. But a more broad approach will soon be taken. And part of that will be to actually just send solicitations, whether that's mail, whether those are phone calls. But because of this video that I'm going to show you, we'll be able to get our appeal in front of targeted prospects via email. So I invite you to watch this video.
On the success of our students, about providing our students with really life-changing experiences. And the Global Leaders Program will do just that. It is designed to provide students with opportunities for study abroad, undergraduate research, professional development in many ways. The other focus of the Global Leaders Program is leadership development.
Yeah, Oxford, honestly, it may sound a little cliche, but it changed my life. Grew up in Southwest Missouri, never traveled overseas, and then to be able to have that opportunity to go overseas, to experience one of the best institutions in the world, it opened my eyes. It brought me back to a memory. I didn't think I could financially afford it. And I worked at St. John's Pharmacy, and one of the pharmacists, Molly, she came to me, I've been talking about, she goes, I want to give you some money to go. And I remember saying, no. She goes, no, just pay it forward sometime. And so I think, for all of us who's had this opportunity to have this while we were a student here, hearing that just made me automatically think this is a great opportunity for us to pay it forward to other students so that world can open up.
A college experience has many components. In the classroom, the curriculum, the knowledge that is gained, that is all very important, and our faculty do a tremendous job. But also the experiences beyond the classroom. Study abroad, as a great example, really can provide students with new perspectives and oftentimes shape the course of their lives. I think many of the global leaders will choose to study abroad with the $4,000 stipend that they will receive. And I can tell you from talking to students and really firsthand experience, those experiences open students' eyes.
It's an opportunity to recruit, to grow the campus. It's an opportunity for 50 students to do an amazing thing, whether that's using it for conferences, for leadership development, or which I hope a lot of students take advantage of the international experience. It sounds daunting to sometimes travel overseas. I would strongly encourage you to do it. One of my favorite sayings is carpe diem, it's seize the day, right? So if you have the opportunity, take this opportunity to change your world. It will impact you for the rest of your life.
The Global Leaders Program is unique to the four-state region. We're really excited about it because of the impact it will have on our students. Also, it will be a distinctive feature of our university. So I would certainly encourage our alumni and friends to consider supporting this program with a charitable gift. I'm not sure there's a better way to make a difference in the lives of our students and in the future of Missouri Southern.
So video's obviously a very powerful medium. People love watching videos, and it does give us an opportunity to get our message to people outside of us just trying to tell them what something is. So we look forward to getting that in front of some of our alums and some of our prospects to see if they will consider supporting global leaders. Brian Val's obviously a big believer in that program. He was more than willing to help with this project, and he will help more going forward. And when you've got donors themselves advocating for you, that makes a big, big difference. So we were proud of that. Appreciate URM, appreciate Brian for his help with it. So that's the end of my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Grimes about his report? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And the video was inspiring. So next we will move to our Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Carson.
Thank you so much, and I want to wish you all a Happy New Year. In my report and also in our back-to-school all-employee welcome, I talked about a lot of good news items. I have included some details on them I will cover in just a moment, but there are 2 points of business I wanted to talk about first. Our MSSU strategic plan update. We just prior to Christmas, as in Christmas Eve, completed an annual update of, well, really more of a mid-plan update on how we're doing, what we're accomplishing there. Obviously, the strategic plan always was intended to serve as a guiding document. Our research and work toward developing the update showed us that we are, but we weren't really sure how the pandemic would have set us back. Closed certain doors, opened other windows, diverted, prevented, accelerated our ability to achieve certain goals. So we have the update now that is available. It will be vetted. It was developed by a subcommittee of the University Council representing all the different divisions. I am very grateful to them for their work. And we have 45 units, 45 reporting units on this campus. 44 were able to report meaningful progress throughout the entire pandemic period. Again, perhaps looking at what's been accomplished, it's not a great surprise, but it was really very rewarding to be able to verify that. So we'll be sharing that with you once it's been vetted through our internal processes. Another superordinate goal that we have in order to improve enrollment, in order to ensure that we could do whatever we can to create a viable, vibrant residential community on campus, is looking at the development of some new academic programs. This process begins with the faculty and percolates up all the way through the 7 steps of the process, which we've talked about before. But I wanted to share with you the foundational items, the criteria that we will be deploying in order to make sure the programs really meet our desired expectations and needs. The criteria that are shared here with you really serve as a foundation for whether or not the proposed programs that we eventually bring forward to you requesting support will help us to accomplish our goals. And so very excited about this framework. We have presented this to our faculty and to our faculty and staff over the last week or so, and it has been really developed looking at what is important to them, what's important to our students, what's important to our campus. And they will include student demand and occupational demand. Obviously, we want programs that students are interested in enrolling in, but we also want to make sure that they have viable, rewarding professions when they graduate. And so these are very objective, data-driven. Startup costs in terms of what will it take in terms of new faculty, support staff, facilities, or capital investments in technology or equipment, but also what's the long-term economic impact. We know that some programs are just more expensive to deliver than other programs, and in the absence of any sort of differential tuition, we know that some programs ultimately will generate revenue that we can use to support others, while other programs typically need more financial resources than they're able to generate on their own. So we need to have the right balance, the right portfolio of those programs. Elevation of the intellectual appeal of our university. So we want to more clearly identify our strategic differentiators and take advantage of those. We want to offer programs that other universities, other institutions of higher education in the market cannot offer, cannot replicate, and those that really help our stakeholders to recognize that we are a very mature, very significant institution of teaching and learning and scholarship and service. Interdisciplinary and innovative, so that we can look at the interesting cusp of the intersections of disciplines, and we want to do that because of the final criteria, and that is interdisciplinary fields tend to be those that are most emerging, those where students are most interested, and those that really graduate students that are able to significantly make societal impacts. And those are the types of students we're interested in graduating. So this will be a process. We will be commencing as a faculty upon this fall. Looking forward to bringing you all some programs that I hope you will be enthusiastic about later in the academic year. So here's just a few points of good news that we wanted to share. The first is a collaboration that we have forged between our College of Education and Carthage R9 School District. This program falls into the more traditional category of Grow Your Own, where you have your own students graduating from a district and you support them in financial and non-financial ways to pursue a college education, with the knowledge and expectation by both that they will return to your school district to teach. And this is something we've been talking about for a really, really long time. And finally, we said, okay, this may not be actually perfect, but we're going to start doing it anyway and work it out as we go. And so we did. We have 2 scholarship students. The Carthage R9 Foundation had a donor that is financially supporting our students, and we're very, very thrilled about this. We'd like to grow this with Carthage program. We'd like to grow this in other areas. And we think that programs such as this will really help to address some of the teacher shortfalls that we see, particularly in rural areas. Right before the holidays, we were, and it's very exciting for me this year so far. We have been awarded over $800,000 in academic grants, which is huge. It's a huge, huge record for the university. These grants are used to support our programs, to support research, to support our students being able to have experiences they otherwise would not have, support our ability to acquire equipment and technology that just literally universities, generally speaking, are not able to afford, just very cutting edge technology. So we're very thrilled and very proud, and I'm very thankful to the faculty who really take on this co-curricular extra responsibility on their own just to help make a better institution for the students and their colleagues. So very excited about a $200,000 grant we were awarded just before the holidays, so that our students would be able to work with vulnerable populations to provide sealant. Sealants are covers, and I feel bad speaking in front of a dentist because it's probably all technically wrong, but generally speaking, they're little pieces of plastic you adhere to the teeth, and it prevents decay, it prevents a lot of erosion, and typically things that lead to cavities. Well, there are 2 populations that are most in need of these sealants and benefit most, and those are younger children and the age of population, typically in institutional environments, so assisted living or nursing homes. So this grant is going to allow our students, our dental hygiene students, to apply these sealants in person and also utilize teledentistry for students 2nd through 6th grade, and also for seniors who are living in assisted living, because we know the significant impact on oral health and actually morbidity and mortality. So it's very significant. We're really thrilled our students get to take that opportunity, and really thrilled for the synergistic service that we're able to provide to our community. A couple of others in there. The last one I want to talk about is, I'm certain everyone in here is well aware that it's one of our strategic missions to pursue all available premier accreditations for our professional programs. And we were just notified right before the holidays that for the first time ever, we have, our School of Music has been able to achieve NASM, which is National Association of Schools of Music. It is the premier accreditation for music programs that can be awarded anywhere, and we were awarded that. We have been working on it since about 2016. Made a lot of investments, a lot of curricular changes, a lot of facility improvements, but we are just thrilled to be part of a relatively small number of schools of music that can celebrate this distinctive accomplishment. So a couple of other things in the report and about 10 others on the welcome back employee videos, but very excited to share the good news that despite all the challenges and limitations presented to us in the COVID semester and the pandemic, we were not only as an academic enterprise able to accomplish things in many ways. The record might demonstrate that we accomplished more than we would even in a non-COVID year. So thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the chance to share these with you.
Thank you, Dr. Carson. A lot of exciting things going on. Are there any questions of Dr. Carson about her report? Okay. Next, we will hear for the first time from our Interim Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. Wingert. Thank you for being here, and we're glad to see you at the table.
Thank you so much. I would like to say I'm incredibly honored and humbled to be sitting here before you in this capacity in my new role for the next 12 months, and I look forward to working with you all. I know I have big shoes to fill, but rest assured, Darren did his best to impart all of his infinite wisdom on me, as well as leaving his master book of jokes and wisecracks for me. As Dr. Van Galen mentioned, the excitement is back in the air for us with classes beginning yesterday and students being back on campus. In my report today, I'm highlighting some of the we are doing some continued counting of our student successes from the fall 2020 semester. You can see there where the count lies so far. The registrar's office will continue conferring degrees throughout the 6 weeks after commencement. Piggybacking off of what Mr. Grimes shared with the advancement team, finding new ways to engage with constituents, our student affairs professionals have been doing the same thing, trying to engage our students in a different and virtual manner. The pandemic has provided a unique opportunity for student affairs professionals to begin thinking about what students learn by virtue of interacting with them, rather than focusing on the quantity of students that they are reaching throughout the pandemic. Also, we celebrated the years of service. You can see in my report that 13 student affairs individuals equated to 145 years of service, and I'll point out that 45 of those 145 years are from Christy Phillips in the Student Affairs Office. So thank you to Christy for her years of service there. And one other note is that we are reapplying for the Educational Talent Search Program grant. Those operate on 5-year cycles, and we will be submitting our information for that grant in February. That is all that I have for you today, and I'd open it up for any questions.
Governor Gibson, I believe, has a question.
Yeah, Julie, did Dr. Wingert, did Chrissy Smith admit Ron Richard?
Did she what?
Did she admit Governor Richard?
I cannot confirm or deny that.
Just curious. Thank you.
Well, I don't hear anything from Governor Richard either.
I hope he heard me.
I heard.
Are there any other questions for Dr. Wingert this morning? Thank you for your report then, and we will hear next from the Vice President for Business Affairs, Dr. Yost.
Thank you, Governor Hirschway. We'll go over the construction report briefly. As I mentioned, there's 2 construction projects, one wrapping up, as you well know, one is continuing on in earnest. The Residence Hall, that project, when you see the picture on your document there, it's divided into 3 different sections. And just to recall, the reason they do that is so that as the trades go up in one section and they finish their work, then they can start on another section, and another trade starts over here in the one they got off of. So all 3 sections will go up at a different time frame, but all 3 sections are proceeding very well. The roof on section 3, and the contractor's finishing that sheetrock, and so that section is going along very well. It's the farthest one along. And the steel framework in the section B, which is the center one, in the core, is complete, and they're framing up the walls on that, and they're installing glass storefronts throughout the whole building. And the framing on one is complete up to the 4th level, and they're going to be installing the roof soon. All the stairs have been installed and throughout the building. I think there's 3 of them, and they're continuing with the rough-in plumbing and electrical throughout the whole building. So that facility is coming along very nicely. We hope to have a room mocked up soon that possibly, if the weather is nice, we can take the board over there to kind of take a tour of the facility and give you a look to see what it's going to look like in the long run. And the trail project, as you know, is complete for the most part. MoDOT has given the final approval on the repairs made by the city, and they signed off on the project. We still have a few minor things to do, such as we will put up an extra piece of exercise equipment that the students were able to, CAB was able to purchase for the university when the weather gets conducive to where we can go out and pour concrete and not sink the truck as we go in there. We're going to put that up. But hopefully in the upcoming months, we'll have a formal ribbon cutting that we can invite the board to and finish that project off.
We'll look forward to it.
As Dr. Van Galen mentioned in his opening report, we received some notification from the state of a couple of different buckets of money, if you will, appropriations. The first one being a pass-through of the federal budget stabilization funds from the feds through the state to us. And that's about $2.1 million, and that'll be used, the governor wants us to use that for deferred maintenance, which we have an abundance of deferred maintenance items on our campus, so we are very pleased and happy that we are able to get that money, and we have set up a task force to determine how best to utilize those funds to not only take care of the maintenance issue, but also make some aesthetic improvements along the way, coupled with the issues that we have. So we were very fortunate on that. And the other item was that, if you recall back when we adopted the budget in July, right out of the chute, the governor withheld over $880,000 of appropriations. He calls it restrictions, we call it withheld. Anyway, we didn't get it. In October, we received notification that the governor was going to release one half of those funds, $440,000 gross, about $427 net to Missouri Southern. We received notification a couple of weeks ago that the remaining half is now going to be released. So as of this day, we have been made whole with our appropriations to what we budgeted, and those will be drawn down by Linda over the course of the next 6 months. So we do not get all that money at one whack. We draw it down proportionally over the remainder of the fiscal year. We're very pleased with the governor being able to release those funds to us, so we can do some great things with that. So that's the extent of my report, unless anybody has any questions. Governor Haley.
Governor Haley?
So we got, in October, half of the money was released,
Yes.
but the governor still kept his 3% withhold
Yes.
from the money he previously withheld.
Yes.
Okay.
We I think once in, Jeff, help me out, once in our tenure, we've seen a little bit of that 3% come back?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Long time, one time.
I just wanted to clarify, it's still only 97%.
We still only get 97%. Yes, that is correct.
Governor O'Platnik has a question.
Rob, on the construction of the new residence hall, do they have elevators in there?
Yes.
I thought they did. Did they just have them, in each section has their own elevator, or how's that?
No, well, they'll have, I think they have 2 elevators in the building. They strategically placed throughout the building.
Are there any other questions for Mr. East about his report?
Looking forward to a ribbon cutting on the trail.
But also, that was good news about the state budget.
It was great
We
news.
really did plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Yeah, it's great news.
Despite the 3%, it's pretty good news. Thank you. Next, we will hear from our athletic director, Mr. Brueggemann. I can't see with my glasses because I fog up. I'm sorry. Mr. Brueggemann.
Thank you, Governor Hirschaway. I'll be very brief. I had 3 little items that was going to point out. Cam Martin was selected to receive the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame Special Achievement Award, which will be taking place later this month. It's a great achievement for him, but also shows the success of our student athletes in the athletic world. We are resuming our fall, winter, and spring sports all this semester. So historically, we would have some sports in the fall, some in the winter, and some in the spring, and this year we will have all of our sports taking place in the spring semester. So that would include football, soccer, volleyball, men's and women's basketball, indoor and outdoor track, baseball, softball, and I think that concludes all of them that we have. I guess golf's also, but that was always been structured. So we will be quite busy this spring, as well as we will be hosting the MIAA baseball tournament right around commencement time. So those are some of the things to look forward to. If you're interested in hearing about our sports, you're going to hear a lot about it. So we'll make sure that works well. The final thing is the department has been working with the social unrest and dealing with diversity and inclusion initiatives, not just our student athletes, which we talked about, the We Are One, hashtag We Are One, but in addition to that, the department itself has been working, and so every other week there's a roundtable conversation with a question or discussion item that's done. As well as that, they've worked very diligently to work on our mission statement and talk about some of our objectives, as well as a splash page on the athletics website talking about diversity and inclusion. And that is a big component of what happens in athletics. We come from a lot of socioeconomic and demographics that are unique, and how we can get along and how maybe that will translate to society overall. And so I want to thank that group for being so diligent and working so hard on that and continuing the work of that. So with that, that concludes my report. If there are any questions?
Are there any questions for Dr. Bergman?
I have a question.
Yes.
What's the attendance looking like for spring sports as far as basketball games for people attending? Are we still at a 25% capacity, or what is that looking like moving forward?
So the MIAA is limited to 25%. We are currently at 10% capacity, only including fans. This week, we've only had one data point because we've only had one home contest with fans there. We've had 3 total home contests. So we'll get more data points here on Thursday and Saturday, and then should be able to bring forth any suggested modifications at that point. I do think at some point we're going to have to, this is my 2 cents for what it's worth, but you asked. So I do think at some point we have to get the students and the faculty and staff able to get into facility. That's part of the student athlete and the student experience, and I hope it correlates to retention, it correlates to the college experience, and so I hope at some point we're able to move in that direction, but currently we don't have enough data to be, I don't think, to make a good choice on that. But we're limited to 25%.
NCAA is 25% and we're 10?
The MIAA is 25%. We are
Okay.
currently 10%.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Bergman? Thank you for your report, and thank you for the work you've done on all these initiatives, and I'm particularly glad to hear about the conversations. Like you said, they're leading by example on the diversity and inclusion. Okay, next we will hear from our treasurer for her regular report, Ms. Ice.
Thank you and good afternoon. We'll look at the financial statements that are dated December 31 of 2020. It is very hard to believe we are already 6 months into this fiscal year, but I will give you some of the information as of December 31. Our total assets are at $175 million, and within the total assets, restricted cash, if you look at the prior year and even the prior month, the differences in there are where we are doing the draws for the bond funding for the Lion Village. So you'll continue to see those draws and the decrease over time as we continue on with that project. We have total liabilities of $125 million, and this gives us a net position of about $50 million. The next report we look at is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. And we look at the difference column, comparing it to the prior year. Our total operating revenues show a decrease of $1.9 million. Our total operating expenses show a decrease of $3.3 million. When we look at the non-operating revenues, there's an increase of $1.7 million. And as Rob has mentioned about the appropriations, right now it is showing a decrease over time, but as we move forward in the year, some of that will start to make up those differences. from the release of the appropriations. And I will say, when they release those, we are pretty much able to, for that month's allocation, able to draw that down almost that day or the very next day. But as he stated, that additional money will come forward each month as we draw the appropriations. You can also see on there the CARES Act funding. We have about $4.7 million in the current year that we've drawn down for expenditures that we've had. So when we're looking at the current year, we show that we have an increase of about $892,000. The prior year showed a decrease of 2.2, and overall that gives us an increase between the 2 years of about $3.1 million. As mentioned before, we just presented the financial statements for our FY20 audit. We will be working with BKD to finish off the student financial aid portion now that we have the federal compliance piece, and that will be happening over the next couple of months. And then with the release of additional CARES funding, we will be monitoring and watching that to receive guidance on how exactly we can spend the additional funding that we've received. And I'll entertain any questions.
Governor Gibson has a question.
On the income statement, and I'm looking at the one that is actual to budget. So we budgeted a deficit of $6.7 million, right?
Based on an accrual basis. When we adopt the budget,
no more questions.
Okay.
Sorry, I forget that every time.
No problem at all. I
Okay.
appreciate the question.
Okay. Sorry. I withdraw my concern.
Are there any other questions?
Okay, but, okay. So, but as you look at the next 6 months and you get out your crystal ball, what do you think it looks like? And I know you may be looking to defer to Jeff, but.
I was waiting for that question.
Okay, good.
I do think the CARES funding is obviously going to have an impact on our cash. We are monitoring enrollment. Enrollment was down for the fall, but it fell in line about where we budgeted. We are taking a look at the spring numbers. We've just started the semester. So, of course, we're always hopeful that we'll be on target. So, enrollment, appropriations, care funding, all of that culminates together. I do think we'll be better than, obviously, the cash budget that we adopted. But where that number is going to land, I do not know yet.
Okay. Well, that's fair. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Ice? Okay, moving right along, we will next hear from our Faculty Senate President, Dr. Bitterman.
Good afternoon, thank you. Our first Faculty Senate meeting for this year is until the 1st of February, so not a whole lot has happened since our last meeting, but we have had a productive fall session. We've passed a number of different policy-related recommendations, looked at protecting and supporting faculty, as well as new programs, new certificates, including a master's program, which looks like it's moving through the state very well. And hopefully all of these will help with retention and recruitment at Southern. On a sort of more dour note, there are concerns from the faculty with the ongoing pandemic. We continually hear about new strains. Dr. Carson and I were talking, is it 2, 3, 4 new strains, greater levels of transmissibility, and the delays in the vaccines. Are we going to have new vaccines, more options? Is it going to be February? Is it going to be March? Is it going to be April? There is that sort of overwhelming concern among faculty as we move into our second semester of high-flex programs and class organizations, masks, all of those things. And all of these things play a role in our concerns moving forward, especially with budgets. Enrollment's down. Enrollment's been going down, but what can we do to turn it around? Is it new programs? Is it reinvesting in the programs we had before, like nursing, to sort of rebuild these programs? So faculty are eager and willing to do whatever is necessary, but there is still that lingering fear for positions and programs as many of us come off our first set of furloughs. So there is cautious optimism, but there are still some very real concerns moving forward. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Dr. Gunderman? We do hear your concerns and appreciate them.
We do appreciate your work. Thank you.
Also appreciate your first comment too about the increased focus on retention and recruitment. I know it's made more difficult, but both are really valid points, and we appreciate the work of the Faculty Senate.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next is the Staff Senate President, Ms. Gal Smith.
Thank you, and welcome to the spring semester here at Missouri Southern. I was actually out helping doing the welcome back with students yesterday and today both, and although it was very cold, it was very exciting to see the students here. So part of our report, there's just two things. We haven't had a lot happen since we met in November, but one of the things that you'll be seeing in the coming weeks is Staff Senate is working on communicating our history and our purpose to campus. So you'll see some of that communication coming out. And we're also going to we have an online comment form on our website for staff, or anybody for that matter, to submit ideas or suggestions for Staff Senate to consider and to talk about at our Staff Senate meetings. So we're going to do some communication to campus about how to utilize that form and to get that conversation going. And we're going to be sending out a mid-year recap just to kind of talk about what Staff Senate has done since July of 2020. I kind of would have forgot that 2020 even existed there for a second. We have started doing virtual meetings with all of our staff meetings. So we meet as a group, but then we actually broadcast that through Teams. And this past meeting, which was just last week, we had 30 people attend, which doesn't seem like a lot. But when we've hosted these before, we have like maybe 3 or 4 people in attendance. So the fact that we're able to do that virtually and we have 10 times that amount of people kind of just shows that there's some interaction and some communication that's being improved and that people want to be part of Staff Senate and the conversations we're having. So we're very excited about that. To kind of correlate with what Gunderman was saying about COVID concerns, that's definitely something that staff is concerned about as well. We've talked about that at our Staff Senate meetings. We've talked about that especially. We had a special meeting about that back in November. So there are, it's just universally applied. And I think we're starting to see that hit home a little bit more. So there are some additional ways that staff is helping to communicate that out and to encourage those that may be feeling ill or whatever to contact the Wilcoxon Health Center and to go through the procedures that way. So it's all part of the communications plan that we have going forward. The next item, the 2021 projects, the beautification day that we held in August was so wonderfully accepted. We want to do it again. So we're looking at some ideas to do that probably in March, sometime around spring break. And we also talked about maybe doing some affirmation messages that we would post around campus, whether they're permanent or temporary, however that might work, just to kind of improve the morale, so to say, from faculty, staff, Senate, and even for students for that matter. So I'm open for questions if you have any.
Are there any questions for Ms. Scow-Smith? No. Thank you for your report and for all the staff's work on building the culture and staying attuned to that. Okay, next we'll hear from Ms. Haley Ward, our Student Senate President.
I don't have much to report today. We have our first Student Senate meeting tonight at 5:30. But one of our student senators actually won the Beacon of Hope Award, Mr. Nicholas Staus. And we are beyond proud to have him on Senate and beyond proud that he won that award.
Pass along our congratulations to him, too.
We will.
Are there any questions for Ms. Ward? Okay, we're moving through it. Now we'll hear from the board committees. Due to a death in the family, the chair of the Personnel and Compensation Committee wasn't able to attend this morning, but the vice chair, Governor Gibson, presided for him on the Personnel and Compensation Committee. Is there a report?
Yeah, briefly, the Personnel and Compensation Committee this morning met with President Van Galen, and I'll be giving a report to the full board in the executive session that is about to commence.
Okay. Thank you, Governor Gibson. And Condolences to Governor Elliott and his family. Next, the Budget Committee met. We've gone over the audit. There were a few other topics. Is there any other report the Budget Committee needs to make?
Just basically a few things that we covered outside of the audit. We talked about CARES funding as well, and then also some of the updates on projects regarding the Johnson controls and the procedures that will help us. And then also we talked a little about some changes that will be coming that will impact our financial accounting going forward with some of the changes that are coming. But other than that, I think that's all from budget and audit.
And is there any action?
Action items, we already covered and approved the annual audit.
Okay, thank you. That's the Budget Committee. Is there any other old business we need to talk about today? I don't know of any, so we will move on to new business. There are a couple items on the agenda, one of which we've already taken care of, the audit. I think Dr. Carson has a proposal for us.
Yes, thank you so much. I don't have any of the traditional type academic policies proposals. Most of those come in the fall, so we can try and complete the process in the academic year. But this is the time of year where we do ask for your support of faculty sabbaticals. We have, for the first time since my arrival here in 2015, we had 3 proposals, so it made it a competitive situation. Each of the 3 proposals was high quality and were recommended for funding by the Sabbatical Committee, but our handbook currently limits us to 2. And so we are advancing to you requests for support of awarding of sabbaticals to 2 of our faculty members, Dr. Brian Nichols in the Plaster School of Business, who was requesting a sabbatical to work on the Plaster investment portfolio, and then Dr. Rebecca Mauser, who I think you all know because she has spent time with us in her role, but she is in the Department of English and Philosophy, and she is working on early medieval England and oral traditions and is developing a book manuscript that she will be working on. During that time, she's going to need to travel to Europe if that is at all possible for her to do in order to complete this manuscript. So I would be happy to address any questions about the proposals. The full documentation is included in your binder, and I would very much appreciate your support for them.
Okay, and I understand the Sabbatical Committee has already gone over this. What are, I missed it, or can it, the dates given beside the proposed candidates' names? Is that when they're starting their sabbaticals?
Let me look and see if I can find what your...
The report dated January 4th to Dr. Van Galen signed off on for the sabbatical recommendations.
Okay. I'm sorry. Those are the dates that they are, requesting to go on sabbatical.
To start, okay.
I'm sorry.
I mean, the simple thing, I was just doing the calculations in my mind.
It's not, we do have a provision for a year sabbatical. It's very atypical. We've only had 1 faculty member do that because the pay is prorated. And so we like to make sure if they're from related areas, there's going to be no disruption. So those are the semesters they're going, but they're not limited. They could request whatever.
Okay. And like I said, it does look like it's gone through all the channels. Are there any questions of Dr. Carson about the sabbatical proposals? With that, I would entertain a motion to approve the sabbaticals. I have a motion by Governor Morgan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Governor Haley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are on new business, but I believe in thinking through, I forgot to ask for approvals of Ms. Ice's report. Did I?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Governor Gibson and a second by Governor Oplotnik. So all those in favor of approving the treasurer's regular reports?
Aye.
Thank you. I'm sorry I overlooked that. Like I say, my glasses are a problem with the mask. Are there any other items of new business we need to discuss? Okay, our next regular meeting date is March 17th, and then our final meeting for this academic year is June 16th. We do have need to go into executive closed session today under RSMO 610-021, subsection 3, having to do with personnel matters. So I would need a motion and a second to go into closed session and then a roll call.
So move.
Motion by Governor Elliott. Is there a second? Second by Governor Morgan. Ms. Johnson, can you take the roll for us?
Mark Elliott,
Yes.
Bill Gibson,
Yes.
Carlos Haley,
Yes.
Allison Hirschway,
Yes.
Mary Ann Morgan, Anita Plotnick,
Yes.
Ron Richard,
Yes.
and Benjamin Rosenberg.
Yes.
Okay, that closed session will take place in room 309, and I believe Governor Richard, you'll have a number to call in there.
I'm not,
Oh, do you need the
I'm not
number?
sure do I have that phone number, Allison?
Mr. Van has indicated he's going to get it to you.
Okay.
I guess that's Mr. Van.